said, highest elevation in the state, 4 exits up. Middle of the night, and the sun was getting ready to come up. So I pull off at one of the exits, and I see a 24-hour fast food drive-through window. So I pull in there, and I get some breakfast, and I drive up that exit, highest elevation in the state. Nobody around. I sat there, I opened that McMuffin, and I watched that sun come up over the canyons in Utah. Now, you guys know I was raised in a religious household. I think that's why people are looking for that. I could be dead wrong. I've been wrong about plenty. I'm not about this, but I've been wrong about plenty. But you could go to the best places with the best hiking trails. You could go here, you could go there. You're not the kind of person who wants to strap on. You're just the person sitting in the Holiday Inn in a great location who's missing everything. Welcome back to the program. I do have these Sonic Temple tickets. I'll get you hooked up here in a moment. Just a few moments now on that. That show starts May 16th. I don't think Columbus is necessarily travel, but that's what we had been talking about, was travel. And more people are looking for the quiet life travel. They're less about, let's go to the big cities where all the fun things are to do. Let's get us out of the way a little. This is true, I know for a fact, as a person who went in with other people, bought a piece of land, and put trailers on other sides of it for people to go and kind of like spend some time in Nebraska on a cliff overlooking like nothing but land and like this and that. And a couple of us came together and said, you know, it's a good idea. We should Airbnb the hell out of this. And I was like, all right, I can see that. I see that vision. And so we broke it down, X amount of dollars per person invested, and we all said, yeah, this is a business, we should do this. And so I invested in that because I felt like, yeah, man, people are looking to get out of the rat race. That's always been a thing, right? I think digital devices are making us yearn for a bigger connection, or maybe a deeper one if we could go eye-rolly there. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right? I kind of wonder if we could go like that. But I think it's true. I think people are, looking for that. I got asked this question. It was not asked to me directly, but I saw it asked ironically on socials over the weekend. When's the last time you were barefoot on a piece of grass? And like the fact that I didn't know the answer to that, like off the top of my head, made me really mad. It's like, I should know that. It should be often enough to where it's like, I'm not curious about when that was, but I got to be honest, most of my outside stuff comes from a golf course. By the way, played great trail yesterday. Pretty good shape out there. It's in pretty good shape out there. Nice job. I know they've switched hands, and it seems like things are going pretty well out there. So heads up, shout out to them. I've always been a fan of that place. Had fun out there yesterday. But like that's most of my outside time. But you're wearing shoes. So we've been talking about travel as more and more people are looking for the quiet life travel. Okay, but we know what's going to happen, right? You're going to go to the quiet life travel place and then make it all loud. When I was growing up, one of the big conversations about travel and summer vacations was, you know what it was? Don't play your stereo too loud on the beach and ruin other people's beach time activities with your music. Don't do that. They were right. Nobody went to the beach to hear what you're trying, right? Like, that's not what people are doing. But we muddied it all up. And then now everybody's Instagram influencing on the beach now versus just like sitting there. So if you're looking for the quiet life thing, that's great. And I love that. And I think more of us should do it. Myself, first in line, probably should do this more. All about it. But then don't make the quiet place all loud. Don't do that. I did this with one of my vacations. I have not been loved because of how much there is to do outside. The entire state looks like Bob Ross painted it, for crying out loud. One of the things I did is I took pics all day, but I didn't post anything until I got back to the hotel at night. I find the more I'm on my phone taking pictures, I actually remember less about the vacation versus like, let me know I have it forever. A lot of vacation photos are like concert videos on your phone. If you've watched it, it's no more than twice, and then it just sits there taking up space on your phone, right? Not looking at them through another. I think that's a big part of it. I was talking about how I set up on smaller, it made me feel like, oh, I've been wrong this entire time. Oh, accidental? I don't know about that. It very much felt like that in that moment. It did. People are writing in theirs and talking about that. But all you can see was stars. That reminds me of another situation when I was in Utah. Again, this was a different trip. I was just driving across the country at this point. But we're in this. It was so profound, such a big moment. I remember the name of the city. We were in Green River, Utah, where absolutely not one thing is. And we were outside of the city, and my buddy said, "What in the hell is that?" Because it was the middle of the night, and you could see for miles. What is that? When we pulled over on the side of the road and sat on the hood of the car, we realized it was the stars. There were so many of them, it lit up the sky. It looked like daylight because of how many stars you could see. You never see that in a city. You almost forget how many there are. I'm told I have pot memory now. That's why I don't remember my last vacation. Well, I was in Oregon and I did smoke. And when I went to Vegas, a bunch of edibles. So like, all right, maybe. But again, Vegas. My family's lived there. My brother's lived in Las Vegas almost 30 years. Mom's been there over 20. Most people, if I say Vegas to you, you think the casino. I don't. You know what I think when I think Vegas? My mom yelling at me about not being married, yes. But then beyond that, Red Rock Canyon. That's what I think. Because that's what most of my experiences of in Vegas. Because once your family lives there 10 years and you've been to the casinos 30 times, you're like, Vegas isn't Vegas anymore. It is for most people, and I understand that. I can go to Vegas and have fun. It's a great vacation. But for me, it's about going to Red Rock Canyon. It's about that. It's about being an hour and a half away from Utah. Again, this is why travel is important. You'll see somebody who will put like top 5 states for this or top 10 states for this, or people are leaving these states and people are like, who the hell would ever want to live in Montana? Who the hell would ever want to live in Wyoming? Who the hell would ever want to live in Utah? Said by people who have never been there. Let me tell you, I take you to Utah just once. If you've never been, I take you to the White Rim Trail. We go to Zion. We go to Zion National Park. I take you there. You're never going to want to come home. And I mean never will you want to come home. Same thing with Wyoming. Same thing with Montana. Who would want to be there? Why? Because there's not a bar downtown that you're not going to go to at your age anymore anyway? What the hell are you talking about? Like, if I take you to those places, you would never want to come home. Ever. That's why travel is important. Is because we all speak like we're experts on all these places. Who would ever want to live there? Why? Because you perceive it to be right-wing leaning. Oh my God, humanity! What will I do with a Republican neighbor? When you actually go and see how they live, you're going to be like, this is the way we all should be living right here. That's why travel is important. I love hearing that people are looking for more nature in their vacations. We all need it. I think you should almost be required to go to national parks in this country. They're amazing. Some of the best vacations you could ever have. Nobody ever goes. Not nobody, but you take the point. I love the fact that people are looking for this in their vacations, but don't go there and then turn it into Miami because you didn't want to go to Miami because of what was going on there. It comes back to what I'm always saying. It's just me. It's just me. I'll be fine. It's just me. I'll be fine. But yeah, that's the problem. Everybody comes to the quiet place with the it's just me attitude and then turns it into the next place. If you're looking for the thing and you go out of your way to get it, don't change it when you get there. Another way to say it is, don't California my Texas. I do have Sonic Temple tickets for you. That show is starting May 16th. And caller 20, I'm going to send you now. 330-450-7625. The toll-free option is 800-243-7625. And we'll sit down and talk to Scott about the NFL draft and the Cavs collapse next on Rock 106.9. Shout out to Janet Hopkins on her way into Sonic Temple. I'll have passes for you every single day this week. We'll pass out another set tomorrow on the program. Every Monday at 8, we talk to my buddy, the co-founder of waitingfornextyear.com, Scott. On loan, you can find him on his X platform at WFNY. Scott, my man, how are you this morning?
Doing better than the Cavs. But no, it's a good weekend, man. Beautiful weather. Mother Nature came in clutch, and ready to get back to it.
Absolutely. The weather was great. We will get to the Cavs collapse here in a second. I actually want to start with the guards. 19-9 on the year, and actually the Guardians aren't really what I want to talk to you about. I saw this get reported a little bit the other day, and it's mostly died on the vine, and I don't know if it's because there's not truth in it or people just aren't picking it up, but I saw a report the other day that Terry Francona could be close to returning to baseball, and in parentheses it actually said managing, which would then mean not upstairs in the office with the Guardians. He could be back in a dugout managing for a Major League Baseball team. Do you think Terry Francona is going to come back to manage? And if you do, what franchise do you think he's most likely to sign on with?
Oh, man, I did not see the report, so I'm like the majority who just kind of let it, quote-unquote, die on the vine. But I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting, to go if he were to return. Really two options there, right? It's kind of barbelled. It's work with the younger team, to try and get them on track, or it's work with a franchise you're familiar with in some capacity, right? And I don't envision Boston going that route. I certainly don't envision Cleveland going that route. So that would lead me to believe project-based sort of situation. But I mean, it would very surprise me because listen, he the last couple seasons in Cleveland, he couldn't get through full seasons without having to take some time away, and I don't begrudge him for that. I mean, there's some health issues that have forced go to the next chapter in his career. But I also, when you do the same thing every year, for as long as he has, it's got to be tough to step away. And so if he's wrestling with it, kudos to him for, missing the game. But, you just got to be careful what you're signing up for, because a project team probably takes a little more effort and focus and day-to-day grind than a franchise that's already pretty much set. And I can't imagine a team that's pretty much set is going to be making a switch for a skipper his age at this point in his career. But we'll see.
This is Scott from waitingfornextyear.com, and obviously we will get to the Cavs collapse here in a second. But over the weekend, we had the NFL draft. And I've been saying it all morning, Scott, that it almost didn't feel like it happened, because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was going to the draft to see the Browns picking in a high position because, well, let's be honest, we traded away a lot of picks to get the quarterback we have. But beyond that, it just felt like we're not looking at this draft like we need a savior to come, put on an orange helmet, and get this thing turned around. A lot of the pieces teams want to put into their team, we have. You have a quarterback. You have a running back. You have an edge rusher, right? We have a lot of the pieces people are looking for. We have a decent head coach. Now, I know that doesn't come with the draft, but we have a lot of the pieces kind of solidified. According to Sports Illustrated, they're grading the Browns at like a B- for the draft. Is that how you had it?
Yeah, I think grades are just content, right?
Yes.
Because you need some NFL stuff to kind of buy time. But yeah, and I saw a lot of folks on Twitter, which I recognize is not reality, commiserating by the lack of skill players that the team was coming away with, and you could really tell that there's still a significant portion of the franchise that's used to 20 years of picking in the top 10, right?
Yep.
They're now, as to your point, Dan, when you have 45, 46 of your roster spots pretty much solidified,
we're looking for backups now.
Not a lot of wiggle room, to fill in with the back end of the roster. And as much as you want to see that orange banner pop on the bottom of the screen, quote unquote trading up or pick is in for the Browns kind of stuff. These guys have to just, make picks for the future at this point. And I think that's why you saw, Zinner, from Michigan. I don't think they're counting on him to suit up day one. That's fine because he's coming back from a leg injury. But, if given, Teller's contract and Bitonio's, he's no spring chicken, right? We have to start looking at pieces to potentially slot in there, 2-3 years from now, and that's where some of those guys come in. I do like the pick of Hall, an Ohio State guy. I felt like, there was years of actively avoiding Ohio State players,
which doesn't make sense.
Being a perennial powerhouse and being 2 hours away, but so them, using that pick on an interior lineman who can get to the quarterback in passing situations, I think you take that. But yeah, I mean, no reason to hate on their draft. I don't think they did anything bad. Do I wish they would have had higher picks to add more talent? Sure. But between cap issues and as you said, the trade for Deshaun that, kind of sent some of those picks elsewhere, I think they made the most with the picks they had. That's pretty much all you can ask for.
Yeah, I think they walked away doing all right here. You know what I mean? And we really won't know for about, a couple of years, just because, again, they're looking for a lot of these guys to be backups for the time being and then maybe step into a starter down. And everybody watches the Browns last year and thinks to themselves, all they're going to do is take what we call weapons in the NFL or skill position players. I mean, look at how much trouble they had with their offensive line with injuries and defense with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were going to look to make sure we weren't caught in the same position like that. Well, adding some other cans into the cupboard. I actually kind of liked the Browns draft. I thought, now again, it's not like I'm watching enough college football to know this kid picked at number 156 in the 5th round. This is the kid, right? Like, I wasn't watching enough college football for that, but I walk away from the draft looking at it like, things are all right. We do kind of have to talk about the Cavs, and I will call it a collapse. I was a little easy on the first loss in Orlando, and they got thumped. And I was a little easy. I was like, okay, look, the series switches back to their home court. We know how this works. You go back there. The home team normally wins at least one, right? Unless you're Phoenix. unless you have that situation. But most teams find a way to win one on their home floor. And I wasn't even going to go crazy over, like, the disparity in the score. But then you put up another game like that. I mean, this game was, just out of control. I think it was 112, the Magic, to the Cavs 89. And I see a lot of fans, and again, Twitter's not reality, but I've been hearing about this all season by some fans. Is it play styles are not conducive to one another with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell? Is this a lineup issue, or was this how the rotation of the matchups was being rolled out by the coach? Which do you think is more to blame?
The number of missed shots inside of 4 feet that I saw in the second half of that game does not strike me as something that's lineup focused, right?
Okay.
I mean, you had
good answer.
You had Mobley miss back-to-back bunnies. You had Garland wide open, missing a layup. I mean, I don't think it's it almost just the wheels just came off, and I don't know, if the JV should have called a timeout and helped, ease the pain, if they should have went to the bench sooner. I can't pretend to know that there would have been, Sam Merrill would have made things better, right? But yeah, you can't be winning at halftime and then, be in the third quarter and have it be 74-70 and then not score again until they have 98, something like that, something ridiculous like that. I mean, that was just really painful to watch. And yeah, I mean, Garland has not played well for a significant chunk of this season. What I would have liked to have seen, and you're seeing this across the rest of these series, right, is when Minnesota needs a bucket, Anthony Edwards takes over, right? When you saw it yesterday with Philly, they needed a bucket, James Harden took over. Kyrie tried in Dallas, but it was obviously the James Harden show. You would have loved to have seen Donovan Mitchell take that game over and just score points. And LeBron had a long history of doing that with the Cavs, right? The teammate, he would try to get his teammates involed.
That's what stars do.
He would just take over,
yeah. And
there was moments in those games where you knew he was scoring so one way or another, right? And I wish I would have saw that, from Donovan. It did get to a point where it was going to be too little too late, just given the way that the offense was playing. But man, that was, they're still favored for the series, which is kind of mind blowing. Speaks to the home court advantage, but
yes, it does.
Yeah, you would have loved to them to at least get one over there and then take advantage of Boston dropping that game to Miami. Now they're going to be on the flip side of that if they even make the series.
So they're still favored to win the series, as I'm talking to Scott from winningfornextyear.com. So I guess I'd be crazy not to ask you the question. Do you think they're still going to win it?
You know, I will tell you, I have emotionally hedged and I took Orlando plus 145. I
wow.
think they should win it. I will go to the grave saying they're the better team.
I agree.
But I thought they were the better team against New York last year, and that clearly did not go well. So I think they should win. I think home court will be a differentiator, but I do think it's closer to a 50-50 kind of series. And if you're going to get near plus 150 on one of those teams, I think it's just a smarter bet to make.
That I can understand. That's Scott from waitingfornextyear.com. You can find him at the site waitingfornextyear.com. Find him on X at WFNY Scott. Find him next Monday, 8 a.m. right here on the program. Buddy, have a great week.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Always good to get his take on things. I'm hearing from you guys that we're still dealing with some phone issues that may have only been mixed in the one channel. I apologize. We have taken this board apart 5-6 different times, and I think it's like one of these things, fixing something in a car, you fix that, and then another problem comes up, then you fix that in another. I feel like maybe at the end of the 10 years, we will have it all wrapped up. I don't know what's happening with this board. I apologize on that. I do have that Rock the Bank keyword, though, and I am getting that passed out for your $1,000, and we'll do that at 9 a.m. right here on Rock 106.9. How long is too long for a movie? We'll figure this out as a class at 9 a.m. They've done some data, run some studies down on it, and apparently this is one of the few things we agree on. By we, I mean Americans, not you and I. We'll get to it coming up at 9 a.m. Also Rock the Bank with you there as well. First $1,000 keyword. I feel like I need to breathe in and breathe out. We're dealing with some technical difficulties, and I am, full disclosure, a little over it. But if I spend time on it, my guess is I'm not going to be here tomorrow over what I feel like saying right now. So let's move forward, shall we? It was a little while ago, and I even forget who the first celebrity called. I remember them saying, yeah, we don't shower every day. And then Ashton Kutcher and his wife came out and said, oh, we don't bathe our kids every day. Even if there's dirt on them, we don't do it. And I was like, oh, I know what this is. Oh, I know what this is. This is the next, we're wasting too much water. This is the next climate change grab that's coming down the road. And they learned in the COVID situation that yelling at people and browbeating them, trying to get them to do what you want, doesn't work. So bait that damn hook. And I was like, look at these celebrities out here on this show now. Because what the celebrities do is what other people want to do. Influence, right? Don't tell me they don't, because we have to stop using language what's in a movie because of how much influence in the platform it has. So don't tell me they don't have it, because we capitulate to everything over what gets said out of a celebrity's mouth. So don't tell me